welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you as always. Today I have compiled all of my tiered trays that I have created into one video. So got a few different ways that you can create them. Let's go ahead and get started. DIY number 1. For this project, I have ordered these wood trays from Amazon. It was a pack of 5. I think it was like $25, and I thought it was a really good price. And then I have a couple of handles from Dollar Tree plungers, which you can see I cut down with my little miter box. I basically cut the screwy ends off of them and then cut them in half. And I'm just gonna sand them down on the edges, just make sure everything is nice and clean. And I'm taking a look at these, and I guess I was trying to make sure that they were the same length, but I'm showing you now that I screwed holes in the bottoms of them. So I did larger holes at one end on 2 of them where I can actually fit my screw head down inside of it. So that's that end. And then the other end, I screwed a regular, or I drilled, I should say, a regular size hole that my screw will be able to screw into. And I did that at the bottom of all 3. So 2 large holes in 2 of the things, and then 3 regular, holes that I drilled. Hopefully it'll make sense a little bit later as I put it together. But right now I have found the center of my 3 trays that I am using from that pack, and I'm just drilling a hole the same size as what I need for my screw. And I basically had taken a piece of paper and made a template, like I traced my circles onto it, folded the circles in half and then in half again to find center. So it was just an easy way for me to find center on these. I didn't show how I did that, but hopefully you understand what I mean. So I'm going to take my Gorilla wood glue, and I've got that large hole there that my screw head fits into. I'm going to put some wood glue down inside of here. So I'm going to drop my screw back down inside there, and then I am going to fill it the rest of the way with wood glue. And I'm trying to be real careful not to get it on the threads of the screw, because I'm going to want to be able to screw my pieces together later, and so I don't want the glue jamming that up. And here I'm just checking to make sure that the screw is standing upright and not leaning to any one side, because I want to make sure that everything screws together straight. So hopefully as I go here you'll understand what I'm trying to do. Essentially, I wanted to have a way to screw all of these pieces together without it being visible. So this was my makeshift way of having a screw connecting 2 different pieces of the wood pull together. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I've decided that I am going to do a buffalo check paint on my trays. I could not find my masking tape to save my life. I don't know where it is. It is somewhere in my craft room. I can't find it. So I'm using Scotch tape. So I apologize, because it makes it a little bit difficult for you to see. It was a little challenging for me to see even as I was doing it, but I made it work. I'm all about find a way or make a way. So I was using my Scotch tape, but I'm just using the same method that I'm sure you've seen a lot of other people use. I'm using a length of the tape to measure off in between the tape sections that I'm going to protect from paint. Again, I'm having a lot of trouble explaining what I'm talking about tonight, apparently, but hopefully you are understanding what I'm saying, especially with the visual. So, and I'm sure, again, that you've seen other people do this. So once I had that all taped off, and I promise I'm going to move on in just a second here. There we go. So once I had it all taped off, I came in with my Adirondack white chalk paint by Home Decor, and I am just going to give this all a good coat, and I'm being careful to get as close as I can to the edges without hitting the edges, because I wanted to keep the sides of the tray the wood tone. So then I came back in with a smaller brush and just made sure that I was able to get in at all of those edges, and I was just real careful. I did not tape up the edges. So, but here we go, revealing this first set of lines, and it came out so nice and crisp. This is so satisfying. So very happy with this. So once I had all of that peeled away and it was all dry, I came back in and I did my tape the same way, but in the opposite direction. And you can see my square is sitting there to my right, and I had used that to just help make sure that I was getting my tape lined up nice and square and perpendicular to the lines that were already there, because I want these to look like squares, like checks, not like diamonds. And if you're off, if you've got it at an angle, they're going to look more like diamond shapes rather than squares. So now I'm coming in with my crystal. It's crystal or crystalline? I can't remember, but it's a chalk paint as well. I believe this one is also by Home Decor, which is a Plaid product. So Home Decor and Waverly, they are both made by Plaid. I didn't even realize that until recently, but they are both Plaid products. They're just different brands within the Plaid family. So at any rate, I was using, I believe it's crystalline. But anyway, really pretty color. And then I came in with my Nantucket blue. And for my Nantucket blue, this is just being very, very careful to hand paint the squares on. So I still do have that tape down, which protected the white everywhere where I needed the white protected. And then I wasn't as careful with the crystalline because I knew that where it was hitting the white, I was going to be coming back in with this Nantucket blue. So hopefully that makes sense. So it's here with the Nantucket blue that I'm having to be real careful. So I have a nice small, flat, relatively stiff brush that I am using to do that. And again, at my little edges along the sides of the tray, I'm coming in with a tiny, tiny brush. So here we go. You ready? I was so excited when I started pulling this tape up. Look at how awesome this is, you guys. And I'm not one to really toot my own horn, but I can't tell you how proud I am of this particular project. This tray may be my favorite project that I have done since I started my YouTube channel. It's between this and my ship wheel. I don't know if I can beat the ship wheel. The ship wheel was really pretty up there for me, but this tray, I just love it. So this is them all done. And you can see that they do nest. So they are slightly different sizes. When it's all put together, it's hard to tell that the top one is smaller than the bottom one, but you can see here that they actually are. So I'm starting to screw in my first screw. So this is the third screw. So you need 3 screws and 3 of these wood poles or whatever you want to call them. So I screwed my screw into the bottom, and I'm screwing that into one of my wood lengths that has one of the other screws sticking out of it. And I did let that set overnight with the wood glue so that that screw is not coming out of the top of that pole, for lack of a better term. So now I just went into my stash and I grabbed out 5 little wood beads, and I wanted to have feet on this just to lift it up a little bit, and also so that little screw in the middle wasn't going to interfere with anything, because I do not have it countersunk, if you will. So I just used some wood glue on that, and of course I didn't wait for that to dry, so I recommend you wait for it to dry before you move on. I ended up having to put them back on again in a couple of places, but because I was moving this around and I was knocking them over anyway. Do as I say, not as I do, right? So now I am just screwing together the next section. So I had set the next tray on top of that screw. I used my second length of the pole, if you will, and now I'm screwing on, as you can see, the third tray. So you can just see how I just set it right down on the screw, turned it until it was on there. And now I'm ready to take this, but then I realized I really want to do something with the top of my, what do you even call this, you guys? Pole? Post? Stick? I don't know. So I am taking from the Dollar Tree one of these shower curtain rings, and I am going to find a drill bit that matches the little knobby thing at the end that like hooks into the other part of the ring to like close the ring. I don't know I don't know if I'm making any sense, but hopefully you'll, again, understand what I'm saying as I go here. So I'm drilling a hole through the top of my top stick, right? And so I'm finding that that little knobby thing goes right into the hole, and it's perfect, and it's holding the one side in place, but there isn't anything to hold it in place on the other side. So I am going to remove that little knobby thing from another one of these rings. So I scored it, and now I'm just using my needle nose pliers, and I broke it off. So I'm taking that and I'm tucking it in where the other one would normally latch it. So is this making sense? I hope this is making sense. And I'm just going to hot glue that in place. So now I have a little knobby thing on both sides of the ring that they can now fit into my stick, right? Are you getting what I'm trying to explain? Because I know I'm not making a lot of sense. But at any rate, I decided I wanted to paint it. Magically, it is now that Nantucket blue color. And now I'm going to just go ahead and screw that onto the top of my tray. And there you go. I love this so, so much. Please let me know what you think in the comments. DIY number 2. DIY number 2. All right, I have these candlesticks that they were actually 2 each, and I had already glued them together a long time ago before I even started my YouTube channel. Then I have a couple of little glass pieces. This is actually a candle originally that I kept, some burner covers from the Dollar Tree, and then a pizza pan from the Dollar Tree. And you can see how they're kind of gradual sizes. So these are going to be perfect for a tiered tray. I opted to go with that glass candle holder, whatever you want to call it, because it was wider and I figured it'd be more stable. And this is how I'm going to build up the tiered tray. So to get this all started, I'm going to be looking for the center for each of my pieces because I want to make sure that my tiered tray is as lined up as it can possibly be. So I've got a piece of parchment paper that I'm working with, and I've got it folded in quarters to find the middle. And now I'm reaching for my Sharpie. So of course it was like sliding. So I'm finding my center again. And I'm going to go ahead and mark this with my Sharpie just so I know where the center point is. And I did grab out my ruler and just check myself here to make sure that I was on center and all was well. I measured it a couple of different ways just to make sure. So then I was starting to look at the glass piece, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to do my burner covers first. So I traced the one burner, the larger burner cover out on the parchment. Just folded that a couple of different ways to make sure it was all lined up. My center was actually my center. And then I used that to mark off again because I could see through the parchment, right? So I was able to kind of use it that way. And then I used that as kind of a little bit of a guide as to where to put my candlestick. You probably don't need to do that initial. You know, if you line it up with your ruler and just check all the sides. And I'm just literally marking it on each of these pieces so that I know where to put it back down when I go to glue it. And I'm fine with that because I'm going to be painting it. So with the glass piece, I don't know if you noticed, I had a little dot in the middle of that also, and I just lined the 2 dots up since I could see right through the glass piece. It made it really easy. I'm going to use my E6000. The lid was kind of glued shut, so I just used my needle nose pliers to help get that open again. I'm going to apply some E6000 around the entire perimeter of my piece. This is the bottom of the piece. And then I'm going to put a bunch of hot glue in the middle so that I'll have that instant bond, but then also the long-term hold. Now, you want to make sure that you leave this sit for several hours at least, preferably overnight. I ended up trying to pick it up the wrong way before it was completely dry, and I smashed the bottom of it on the floor and ended up having to use a different piece for my base. So do as I say, not as I do. But at any rate, I am using hot glue and E6000 on these as well. I was kind of off camera when I was doing that, so I apologize for that. But essentially every other, you're going to see it here, every other little side edge, I'm doing the E6000. And then I'm going to come in on the other ones that I left blank with my hot glue. And I'm going to add hot glue to those alternating areas. And I'm doing the E6000 first because it obviously takes a lot longer to dry than the hot glue does to cool, especially when working with glass and metal. So I want to make sure that I'm working quickly with the hot glue. And I know you can't see that, but I really just put it right back down where I had it all marked off originally. So I'm marking off this side because I forgot to do it before I had gotten everything set, and I was kind of twisting it around because I was looking at the other one that was already in place and making sure that they were going to be nice and lined up. Because again, I want this all to be nice and straight and even, and I want all of my different levels to be centered. So that was the method to my madness. And I just did that until it was all put together, and I gave it a couple of good coats of white chalk paint. Let me know what you think. DIY number 3. All right, I have these spindles that I got on Amazon. I'm using just one of them. It was a pack of 6, but I actually got 7 of them. I think it was just a mistake. And then I also have these wood trays, also from Amazon. I will have these in my Amazon store, which is linked in my description box. And I'm just measuring everything and making sure that I have an idea of what I'm doing here with these. But I'm going to start out with my antique wax, and I am going to give this a coat just to help it blend in with the wooden trays. And I believe the trays were 8-inch and 10-inch trays. So now I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper and kind of create a template, because I want to find a center on this octagon. And to do that, I'm going to you saw me kind of smooshing it in there to get the shape or the edges, and I'm cutting that out. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold this several times. You can see it's already folded through the middle once from the original piece of paper or parchment. I'm going to fold it several times, going in different directions to try to help me find the center where all of those lines or folds connect. That's my center. Now I'm going to take just a regular nail and I'm going to knock it right through there. That's going to be my starting point. Now, I really hesitated to do this because I was afraid I was going to mess up these trays. These are really nice and heavy. They're about 3/4 of an inch thick on the bottom. So yeah, I started out with a smaller screw bit. And then I kind of worked my way up. I did work my way up a little too fast. You can see I have the box underneath there because I want to make sure I wasn't going to drill through my table. I also ended up having to change out the battery on my drill. I couldn't understand why it wasn't working real well. Yeah, the battery was dying. But at any rate, I was working my way up slowly with the bit sizes until I got to a point where I could fit my spindle in there. And now I've got just this regular wood, what would you call this? A wood square. And I sanded it down as you saw. And now I am going to just find center on this as well by going on the diagonal from corner to corner, and I am going to drill through this as well. I forgot to turn the camera back on after I changed the battery out on the drill. I gave that a coat of the antique wax as well, so I'm sorry that I didn't record that footage. And then I also glued it down with my Gorilla Glue. You saw me holding my Gorilla Glue there. I was just checking to see how long it takes for this to set up. Once it was sufficiently dry, I went ahead and started piecing it together, but I decided I wanted to have feet on it because I do have, you can see it sticking out through the bottom there, and you can see how it kind of splintered on the bottom. That was because I used too large of a drill bit too quickly, and I'm just trying to find it and make sure it's level here as well. So I went ahead and filled some of that in with the wood glue. It is on the bottom, so you're not going to see it. And then I also glued down all of those little wood beads that you saw me coating with the antique wax as well. So really simple way to make a tiered tray. This is honestly very solid. I am really proud of this little tray. It is so sweet. Just kind of glue all of the pieces together here. I waited for my little feet to be a little bit dry so that I wasn't going to knock them off, because they will knock off pretty easily if you don't do that. And then just pieced it back together again, made sure everything was level and all set. And that's really all there was to it. I'm going to line everything up, make sure my octagons are lined up, and that's it. Let me know what you think of this sweet tiered tray. DIY number 4. So for this project, I have a couple of these Dollar Tree shot glasses. I've got 3 of these little silver trays and a Dollar Tree razor blade that I'm going to be using here. So we've created all these cute little minis. I decided I needed another tray to display them on. So I'm using this little razor blade to shave off the writing that is on the shot glasses, and it worked really well. I was actually really happy with it. So I do recommend those little razor blades. And then I gave each of the glasses a couple of coats of the silver acrylic paint by Arteza. And now I just wanted to embellish them a little bit. So I have from the Dollar Tree these transfers. I'm sure you've seen a lot of people using these. They're really pretty. So I pretty much cut out all of the little leaf patterns that are there. I left the wreath. That was the only thing that was left in the end. And I went ahead and applied them to the little glasses and just went around and applied them over the entire surface all the way around each of the glasses until I had it the way that I wanted it to look. And these are so easy to use, and they're so pretty. Look at how pretty those came out. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my tray together. I'm using my E6000. I am applying that to the base of the glass. I did not paint the base of the glass, as you can see, because I wanted the glue to adhere directly. So, and it's going to be hidden anyway, so no need for it to be painted, right? So applied that directly to the center, and with the etching on these little trays, it made it so much easier to find center. So at least on the top surfaces. So again, using E6000 and then leaving a couple of spaces for some hot glue. I'm not mixing my glues. I'm keeping them separated, making sure that's all lined up. And then I did the same thing with the next layer. So I did the E6000 on the outer edge and then some hot glue in the middle so I could get it done quickly and be able to keep working. And then again on the top, I did the E6000, left a gap on either side for the hot glue so that I would be able to get that to adhere quickly and be able to ensure that my E6000 was going to have sufficient time to cure. So very carefully, because it's still drying, I'm going to show you my tray. And I'm really happy with this. So now, if you want it to be a true farmhouse look, you could totally knock down the silver with some gray chalk paint. I chose not to do that because I want it to remain food safe, because I can actually use this for little canapes or whatever else. So now I'm taking 4 more little beads. One of them I had painted and not used on another project, so I'm just going to paint over that one, because these were the last 4 of this size and I needed it. So I'm painting those silver as well. This is the same silver that I used on the glasses, and I am using these as little feet on the bottom of my tray just to help lift it up off of the counter just a teeny tiny bit. Gives it a little bit of elevation. And there you have it. That's it. DIY number 5. For this project, I am starting out with some, I guess you would call that vase filler from Hobby Lobby. I have it in my stash for a while. I have a couple of really thin vases that I also had in my stash. My sister had given them to me a while back. I have what was a candle, so the glass candle holder is all that remains, and I have 3 of these awesome trays from the Dollar Tree. So I am just filling my little glass, what used to be the candle holder, with some of the vase filler and just getting that nice and full. And then I'm going to be putting one of the trays right down on top of it. Just going to use some hot glue for this, putting that around the edge. My thought here is that this is not going to be a permanent bond, so I can easily take it apart later to put different things in here for different holidays. So hopefully you're getting what I'm doing here. So I also have this fun, I don't know what you would even call this, a faux sparkler maybe? I don't know, but it's celebratory, and I just thought it would be so fun to put down inside of this little bud vase, right, that I'm going to be using as the riser for my next layer of my tray. Now, I did intend for this to be a 3-tiered tray, and then I ended up cracking one of the bud vases that you're going to see here in a second. And so I was trying to put that little wire across the top, and that's where I broke it. Right, I hadn't trimmed it down quite enough, and I forced it, and so now it's going to be a 2-tier tray instead. But the reason I was doing that, the little sparkler, for lack of a better term, that I'm placing down in here, over time I didn't want it to sag and end up kind of drooping in the bottom. So I wanted something across the top that would support it. So I glued the little tip of it to the stem that I'd cut off, and then I anchored that stem at the top of the bud vase. Hopefully that's making sense. So you can see it's kind of like a little T at the top there. Then I'm going to go ahead and secure my bud vase to the tray, and then I'm also going to do the same. Sorry, I'm out of frame here. It's this new camera angle that I've been working with, but I added some more hot glue around the edge of that, and I'm putting that down. I did it upside down this time to make sure that I was going to be able to see where the center was. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to flip this back right side up, and now you can see my cute little 2-tiered tray. Let me know what you think. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Let me know which tray was your favorite. Leave me a comment, give me a big thumbs up, and until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.